Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of No Bullshit Talks. I am so pleased to be joined today by Juli Colotti, who is a habit and lifestyle coach. And first of all, I guess I want to delve in straight away, Juli, and say, well, thank you, first of all, for coming on today's show. And secondly, just what is a habit and lifestyle coach exactly? What do you guys do?
All right. So thank you for having me. And so a habit and lifestyle coach, I guess, could be many things. I think everyone that considers themselves a habit and lifestyle coach kind of has a different approach. And the reason why I put habit in front of lifestyle is because I really work with individuals to help build habits. Because you can say you're going to eat healthy, you're going to get rid of the snooze, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But if you don't have the habits and your routine set up properly to do that, then all of that other stuff is never going to happen.
So when you say habits, because obviously to most people, they hear the term habits and you probably think bad habits, right? That's kind of what's associated with it. And, obviously there are bad habits that people have, like you said, like you mentioned about, eating healthily, and I'm guessing a bad habit would be snacking, like, grabbing the odd chocolate bar here and there when you're feeling peckish. I guess that's a bad habit. But, there are good habits. And I'm guessing what you do is to train people out of those bad habits and like create good ones, right? And there were so many great things out there about habits, but for some people they've still not heard about this sort of thing and this sort of technique. Do you want to run me through what you actually do to create good habits and get rid of the bad habits? And is that exactly what you do to help people?
Yes. So a bad habit, a lot of times, like you said, when people think of habits, they think of addictions or, eating candy while you're watching TV or, whatever that might be. But a bad habit for some people might not be a bad habit for everyone. So, waking up in the morning and brushing your teeth is a habit. And, this is not something that people think of. They're like, well, I just brush my teeth. Well, yes, but everything that you do every day is a habit. So our routines are built around habits. We just don't consider them habits because, like you said, that word is associated with bad things. But, going to work is a habit. So what I do is we look at somebody's routine from the second your alarm goes off in the morning, or you wake up, if you're waking up naturally, to the minute you go to bed. And everything that you do between that time, I call them bookends. So when you wake up and when you go to bed, everything you do between that time is habits. Most of the time, if you're working, a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday job, Monday through Friday looks the same. And then Saturday and Sunday looks a little different. And so, waking up and putting on the coffee pot is a habit. And, then some people sit on the couch and watch the news. That could be a bad habit for some, because especially nowadays, the news is filled with nothing but not good things, right?
Yeah.
Like there's crazy things going on in the world. So instead of watching the news, maybe we need to journal or meditate. So how do we get from not watching the news to journal or meditating? And then, there's things like setting up your environment, like putting your yoga mat out the night before you go to bed in front of the TV. So the yoga mat is there. So you're essentially walking over that yoga mat. If you have to walk over something, you're probably not going to avoid it. So it's doing that. And the way that we do that is I need to look at your routine. I need to know what you do from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. And then we figure out where those bad habits are from and what we could replace those bad habits with. Maybe you're only watching the news for 5 minutes instead of 30 minutes. And then we're slowly getting you to that goal. Let's say for this person, their goal is to be less stressed. Well, to be less stressed, we probably need to stop watching the news because you can't control the news. So let's meditate, let's journal, let's get that stress out. But how do we do that? And that's how we do it, is by creating new good habits to help us reach our goals. Because you can set a goal. We'll use an easy one. You want to lose 20 pounds. Well, going to the gym is one thing, but your schedule is already, the number one excuse is I don't have time. Well, you do have time. It's how you spend your time. And most of us waste an average of 20 hours a week in bed looking at our cell phones.
Funny you should say that, because like that's how I get up in the morning, and everyone says to me that is such a bad habit. You like the first thing you do is look at your phone in the morning. Do you know what? That was my good habit. And I'm going to be really controversial here and say that's a good habit. I still love that habit. And everyone says how unhealthy it is, but you said everyone's got different requirements, right? So for me, it's been a good habit because I love to snooze. I love to hit that snooze button, and I will snooze for an hour and a half. Like that is just unproductive in every form of the way. Like, you know, like it's unproductive. I just waste an hour and a half of my time, but I don't even get good quality sleep. I'm actually like waking up every 9 minutes on that snooze button, and I'm not even getting good quality sleep. It's really stupid, but I will still do that snooze thing. So what I started to do was grab my phone, because my phone is the only thing that wakes me up in the morning. I will grab my phone, I'll read the notifications, and that actually makes me open my eyes, because at the moment I feel really sleepy, and I'll look at it and I'm then inspired because I know what I have to do for the day. I look at what's going on and I'm like, right, okay, great. And then I go and jump in the shower and I work out how to tackle my day. And that's how my good habit formed. And every time I look at my phone in the morning, I am pumped and energized and enthused and like actually want to tackle the day. But until I look at my phone, I just want to sleep. So I want to understand how the one biggest bad habit that most people talk about is, you know, using their phone in bed, how I can think that's good, but am I just completely wrong? Is that just a terrible habit I formed and it's really unhealthy? Because for me, it's changed my life for the positive.
So no, and that just goes to the example of not like that bad. Like for me, I was laying in bed for 30 minutes on my phone and was almost late to work, for the simple fact of I was just on my phone and couldn't get out, didn't want to get out of bed, and I'm just mindlessly scrolling. So for you, if you're using it instead of hitting the alarm for an hour and a half, and now you're getting out of bed an hour earlier, that's different. But if you're laying in bed for an hour and a half and you feel, and it's not that it's a bad habit, let me reframe it in a way. People feel that they don't have enough time in the day, and we waste a lot of time. We're humans. So if you're sitting in bed in the morning for an hour and a half on your phone, and at night you're running around with your head chopped off saying, I could just use 2 more hours to get everything done, you had that time. Does that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like to me, my phone habit that I've created, whether it's good or bad, we haven't determined that yet, I guess. But in my phone habit has created me extra time. Like you said, I'm actually out of bed. I actually get out of bed once I do it. So to me, so far, it's a good habit. But yeah, I think that people always say to me it's a bad habit because maybe I look at it and get pissed off by something I've read on the phone. But to me, I'm going to get pissed off when I read by reading that anyway, whether it's at 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning. So I feel like I might as well have an extra hour to tackle it. I don't know, that's the right way to look at it, but that's how I feel.
Yeah. And that's, you know, there's studies, you know, with you shouldn't be looking at screens first thing in the morning, but that's not even what I care about. It's most of my clients, they have kids or, you know, they have a job they have to go to, and they're barely making it out of the door with their pants buttoned because they sat in bed for an hour and a half. Like that's a problem. And, you know, you could get so much done. You know, I have one client that actually cleans the house before she goes to work. So when she gets home in the morning, she can just do nothing. Like dinner's prepped, it's in the fridge, it's ready to be cooked. And she's going to bed and she's actually sleeping better because she's not so stressed after work. And that's a lot of times that, you know, you hear people, and the norm is people are stressed because of work. It's not the norm that people are stressed because of their home life. But when your home life is just as busy as your job and you're wasting all of this time doing things you don't need to be doing, like watching TV, like you don't need to sit on the couch and watch TV in the morning. You can vacuum or sweep or write the grocery list and do all this other stuff with the TV on in the background, because you just have to listen to the news if you really want to listen to the news. So it's we spend a lot of time, and I say we as a general statement, spend a lot of time in the morning. That's usually when we waste our most time. So if you're more productive in the morning, which is my big push with my clients, is how to make your morning the most productive time, because the morning before you go to work is really the only time you can control. Because once you go to work, if now you get a phone call saying that Johnny is sick in school and has to be picked up, your time after work is probably done and, is down the tube or whatever. So that time in the morning is really the time that we have full control over, even though we really don't have control over any time. Like, that's the time where we can set the day. And if you start the day, on the right foot in the right direction, normally the rest of the day goes that way. Mine, besides life events that we can't control. So, if you're laying in bed and getting, your phone is actually waking you up, then it is a good habit for you, because it took you away from the bad habit of wasting time and hitting the snooze button. And now I would look at it as, how much time are you on the phone? And if it's only 20 minutes, that's fine, as long as at the end of the day, you're not like, oh my God, I didn't get anything done. And you're not running late to work because you're getting caught in your phone. And that's what a lot of people do, is they get caught in the phone. Like, when I was scrolling Facebook and I wake up at 4 a.m. So when I couldn't even tell you what I read. So was it really beneficial? Like, I was just like, I couldn't even see my screen because I'm still so asleep, but it was just that habit of getting that phone and scrolling. And then it's like, next thing you know, 25, 30 minutes have gone by, and now I'm barely making it to work because I lost track of time just scrolling on the screen. Does that help answer your question a little bit more?
Although, like, mine's only 5 to 10 minutes. I literally do it to wake
that's
myself
not bad.
up.
That's not the norm, though. Most people,
right?
Like, if you talk to people, it's at least 30 minutes.
That's crazy, but I feel like
up.
It does add up. But I feel like, okay, so for me, what you said about, the morning is the time that we need to control the most. What I want to understand is that not everyone's different. Some people are really not morning people. Some people are actually hugely productive in the evening. Like, I would say that before, before COVID, my most productive time was between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. because people would be in bed. Like, I was a night owl, and I'd do that. And I'd still get like normal hours of sleep, and I'd be fine. I'd wake up, and I'd just wake up a little bit later. And I don't understand, like, there's all this, like, the 5 a.m. club. You just said you get up at 4 a.m. That's never going to be good for me. Like, if I get up at 4 a.m., I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to be groggy all day, and I'm going to be like, everyone get out of my way. I had no sleep. I got up at 4 a.m. And I'm going to be, the only time I will happily do that is I'm catching an early flight to somewhere sunny. And I'm like, it's fine. I've got a big reward at the end of doing that for working at 4 a.m. Otherwise, I'm just not doing it. It's just not okay. I mean, like, I get it. People get up at 4 a.m. They may go to bed really early and still get their 8 hours sleep. That's just not for me. I am definitely much more of an evening person. And I think that what I don't like is there was so much stuff out there, like, preaching about how the morning is got to be the most valuable time to you, most productive time to you. But why does it have to be? Like, what, isn't everyone very different? Why can't someone switch it around? You mentioned kids. Fine, like, some people have kids, some people don't have kids. It's going to be different for them. Like, and I feel like kids can get sick in the morning just as much as they can do in the evening. So I feel like, what if people just want to lie in? What if people, want to get really productive early in the evening and then go to bed, and are happy because they've been productive and they sleep better? What's wrong with doing that as a routine as opposed to the other way around?
So there's nothing wrong with doing that. So the reason why there's all of this information and I focus on the morning routine is because of who I work with. But if you were my client and I was working with you, we would just change it. So it's just the norm. And, not everybody fits the norm, which is a good thing. I hate getting up at 4 a.m., but it's what I have to do I own a personal training studio also. So it's what I have to do for my career right now. But if it was up to me, I would sleep till 10, and then my day would start, whenever. So it's just the norm. But and there's more, I guess the thing is that if, like, you have kids and you're waking up before, anybody else, but, like, you do it the opposite way, which is completely fine. So then what we would do with you is just make your habits around the evening time. So then after dinner, we would make it so we're not controlling, but we're making sure that you're setting up those habits to do things, and not after dinner, sit on the couch and have your lie-in then because you just ate and now you want to watch the evening news, or you want to watch whatever sitcom you watch on TV. And so it would just be a reverse setting, which is completely fine. But, unfortunately, in everything in the world, there is that generalization. And, most people, I don't think anybody, like, there are those morning people. It's just like those people that like to run, that like run for fun, right? There are people that love the morning. I am not one of them either, but I have grown to just accept it because it's what I have to do. So, like I said, we would just flip-flop everything and, make sure that time that you have in the evening for those 4 hours, you're getting done whatever that needs to get done, whether you're trying to open up a business, whether or not you're trying to organize your house, you're getting rid of things, you're purging a closet. Like, we would just make sure that we're setting up your habits so we get that done. And then, if you like to, have a lie-in in the morning, we would just make sure that you were prepared for the day before you went to bed instead of doing all of that stuff in the morning. So there's obviously ways to flip-flop it. It's just it's just like breakfast. Everyone's like, oh, you got to eat breakfast first thing in the morning. Well, why can't you eat eggs for dinner?
I do. That's exactly what I do. I'm backwards.
So you're just,
I'm about to go cook dinner in a minute, and I have this thing which is like one of my favorite comfort foods, and I'm gonna do it now. I have a baked potato with bacon and eggs. It's like my breakfast potato, but I'm having it for dinner.
There's nothing. So you
dinner.
just like to defy the odds, and that's okay. And you just have to figure out, and that's one of the things that I think is different about my program, is that I don't do like a group program where I'm lumping everybody into a morning routine. Like, we work one-on-one and we figure out your routine before we put everybody into the group. So there is a group program, but we figure out what is working for you. And then a habit is a habit. It just depends on what habit you're forming, but how you form those habits is the same for everybody. It's just what you're doing and when you're doing it that is different. And if we're focusing on making your evening time block more beneficial than your morning time block, that's completely fine. But there are probably some things that you can fine tune in the morning to give yourself some more time if you are stressed running around trying to get things figured out, because every minute counts. So there might be things that you can do that save you some time and get you to be feeling less stressed in the morning, like you're running around. But it's just, so to answer your long story short, it's really just the norm. And most people are going to work in the morning, and they're getting up and they're doing things. And but most of those people are laying in bed wasting time. So
yeah, I think that's it. So I do flip it. So I know that I'm rubbish in the morning. I'm like groggy and I'm really tired, and so I'm not really productive in the morning. So actually I do that, like you were saying about your client who tidies the house before she goes to work in the morning. No, I do that on the way in, and people are tired after work. I'm still got more energy after work, and even though I finish really late, I work really, really late, but I find it therapeutic to like eat my dinner and then clean the house. Like, that's what I do. And then I'll prepare everything and I'll get everything ready for the next day, because I know in the morning I'm going to suck and I'm going to be like, I just want to get a shower. I want to go brush my teeth and I want to just leave the house. Like, that's what I want to do in the morning. So I flip it and do everything in the evening. And I think that that's okay. It's not been, unless it starts to disrupt my life, I think I'm going to be fine with that. But I think for me, I also read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Have you read that book?
Yeah, that book changed my life.
Oh, really? So you actually rate the book?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good thing to hear, because I love the book. I think it's fantastic. It's also sort of changed my life. I've read it twice in the last year and a half. Yeah. And I just think it's so good. I read a book club as well, and I've put that on it twice, and I think it's so amazing, and it's so good to hear from someone who's actually a habit coach and it is a legit book. Because for my cynicism, I almost I don't believe a lot of crap out there. We read the 5 a.m. club in the book club, and sorry to say, we don't agree with the 5 a.m. club. but the Atomic Habits book I think is fantastic. So I want to hear about that. So how did it change your life?
So that's kind of how, so during COVID and the shutdown, I lost my routine. I lost everything, because I was teaching gym classes in my living room, and I was really like, what doesn't get today will just get tomorrow, because I'm not going anywhere tomorrow either. So, but then I was a mess. I was, near rock bottom, completely stressed out because I wasn't getting anything done. So then I was like, something needs to change. And I realized that I was out of my habits, out of my routine. So I was like, okay, let's get back to doing that. And then when I read that book, and I'm like, well, that all makes sense of why that happened, because, your habits and routine are so key. And, his teaching is how I teach my clients. Like, we start small, and then we do all that. We prime your environment, which is key. I mentioned that about putting out the yoga mat, so you're stepping over it if you want to meditate, like that's from his book, and brushing your teeth, and celebrating. You need to celebrate your habits. If you go to the dentist and they tell you need to floss more, and you floss one tooth, like you need to celebrate that. And as silly as it sounds, it is life-changing.
Yeah, I do think that too. And I underwent knee surgery not so long ago, and obviously that was an ordeal. And getting back, my range of movement and all that sort of stuff, and the strength in my knee was really hard. And I'm still going through it, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely still struggling, but that book really helped me get into a bit of a routine with the physio and getting on the bike and stuff. And it was all the bits about just getting your gym clothes. And so I actually bought nice gym clothes as well. Like, so I went and bought nice new gym clothes. I'm like, I'm gonna wear this nice cute outfit. And then I was like, okay, so I'll put the outfit on. And then had this on, and I was like, well, if I'm in this gym outfit, I might as well get to the gym. So then I decided that I was only going to do 5 minutes a day on in the gym, and that was it. And obviously again I did 5 minutes a day, and then I suddenly went, I'm here longer now, I might as well do more. And it turned into a habit. And his method did help, and his method is slowly but surely strengthening my knee and getting me back into shape. It's incredible. So I totally vouch for it. And if you're teaching the Atomic Habits method, then oh my god, your clients are going to be having the best transformation of their lives, I think. So I think that's really cool. And it's amazing because so not only did this book change your life, got you back into a routine, but now you've opened up like fitness, like you opened up your own gym, right? And you did that during lockdown, and you're running your own gym and you're a personal fitness trainer. Like, how did that go from feeling like you had no routine to now actually running like a personal fitness training gym?
Well, I opened this 5.5 years ago. So during the lockdown, we were all virtual. So, but it was when I read that book and I was going kind of through everything in lockdown, all of my clients were going through it too. And I'm like, what's missing? Like, coming to the gym and all of that is great, but if your life is in chaos, what matters? You're not going to lose weight because you're stressed and all this other stuff. So I realized especially after reading that book, what that missing piece was. And I just kind of did like a test run with some clients, and they got amazing results. And I was like, there's something to this, so I just like went off, and I was like, let's see if we can do this, and open up like a little, my own brand, and start coaching people on this. And, they don't need to be my fitness clients. They can be anywhere in the world, because, I think and I focus on people that are looking for success. So entrepreneurs, or people that are looking for that promotion, and they're pretty, executive level, because everybody owns a business, and it's called your own life. And we need to be in control of that. And without that, there's so much stress, and there's so many other things that are going wrong with our life. And once we get control of our routine and our habits, all that other stuff will fall into place.
So how do your two businesses connect then in that way? Like, how does all this habit forming correlate to the health and fitness kind of, business? Because I feel like they obviously do. And a lot of the habits that people want to form, most of the time, other people, I'm guessing they want to form habits around, losing weight and all that kind of stuff, and productivity. But what correlation have you seen between, your fitness clients and the habit forming clients?
So the clients that are in the gym that are also my habit and lifestyle coaching clients, just getting control of taking care of themselves and putting themselves first, getting rid of the clutter in their house, and, having them look forward to going home after a workout and not just sitting. They're actually meal prepping. So that's a big one, getting into the habit of meal prepping. But also, I train a lot of teachers. So getting them to de-stress. So also the habit of transition. So you're transitioning from career person to mom to, friend and all of that, and being able to give you that time in your routine to transition from work to home life is huge. And that's, a big habit that people don't think about. And you're going in and you're still with the stress that's from work is now going into home. And if you're carrying so much stress around, there's all these hormones and stuff, you're not going to lose weight. And all this other stuff is going to happen. And then you're going to have medical problems. And it's just a big domino effect. So, getting stress levels under control through your habits and routine is key.
So is that the biggest complaint that most people say, is that they're too stressed and they want to reduce the amount of stress in their life? Is that, would you say, the most common thing is? And that's
stress and no time.
Okay, so but that's, they kind of very much correlate, right? Like they're stressed because they have no time, and it's a vicious cycle. But is that, then you said, mainly to do with work, and you said that you mainly work with entrepreneurs? Is this because they're all kind of running their own business, they work really, really hard? So is that kind of the common thing, that really busy business owners are kind of stressed and they have no time because they're working on their own business, etc., etc.? Is that kind of the main concern?
Yep. Entrepreneurs and moms are, my two biggest clients. And, even if they're a stay-at-home mom, you wouldn't be surprised on how unproductive stay-at-home moms are, because they're not self-motivating.
And why is that? Just because they feel like they've got to look after their kids full time, and they feel like there's nothing? What's the reason that they don't feel motivated?
A lot of times is, especially if the kids are at school, I'll clean the house tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes, or it does, but then there's another tomorrow. So it's, not necessarily, I guess, like unproductive, but not feeling fulfilled that you're doing enough. And you're, so it's getting moms that stay home to get a hobby, to go volunteer, to do all these other things. And then it actually brings more happiness because they're doing things. They're not just staying home and watching soap operas all day.
That's interesting, because it's like they actually do have time, from what it sounds like, but they don't feel like they have a purpose. So then you find them that purpose, the hobby and the volunteering, which actually takes up more time, and suddenly they find themselves having more time spare. It's like a very strange paradoxical situation, right? And it's like you said, it says it's nothing to do with time, it's how well you use it. So I mean, I'm definitely a very busy entrepreneur. I would definitely say that. Like, I work silly hours a week sometimes. I'm a lot less stressed than I used to be. I used to kind of do that whole thing and burn out and all-nighters. I can't do that anymore. I'm definitely a lot more sensible about it. I would still like to cut down my workload, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you feel like it's a necessary evil to do. What advice would you give to most small business owners, entrepreneurs out there who do feel that pressure? Because I feel like there is that pressure when you're self-employed. You don't have a consistent paycheck coming in, right? You're not consistently going to get X amount a month that you can budget with. Some months may go great, some months may be awful, and then you have those peaks and troughs, and the peaks and troughs financially lead to peaks and troughs emotionally, and mentally, and all that kind of stuff. Like, what advice would you offer those people who are kind of suffering through that and are not sure how to handle the stress and the workload and everything?
So, I think the best piece of advice is to make sure you're planning your day, because, if you're not planning your day, we have more time than we think we do. And if you're planning your day and using your time wisely, you'll start to figure out how long certain tasks take. And then if, there's not money coming in, you might have extra time to figure out how to bring money in. So, a lot of times it's hard to get money in the door because you don't have time for marketing. You don't have time for the important things because you wasted time scrolling Facebook and, doing all of these other things, which really aren't important. And it's, the power of learning to say no to others and focusing on that to-do list and doing what you need to do to move your business forward.
How granular do you need to go between planning your day? Because, I feel like every business owner does plan to some extent, but the plans go out the window. Like, you'll sit down, you'll be like, okay, here's my to-do list. And the to-do list seems to get longer and longer every day as well. Like you don't get to check off as many things as you add to that list. It grows. And then you plan your day to some extent, that a client calls an emergency, and you always prioritize your clients because you think that they're the ones paying and that's what needs to pay the bills. So you always prioritize some things that make money. So how granular do you have to get? How strict do you have to get to stick into that plan?
So I cross off my to-do list every day. So
wow, I don't think I ever have. Ever.
You have to. So, when you talk about clients' emergencies, like, is it really an emergency or is it an emergency to them? Like, is it something that really can wait? So I only check my email certain times a day. I only check my phone certain times a day, and that blocks me from, distractions. So I have, office hours where you can contact me, or you can contact me before, and during this time is when I'll answer you. But so that's the other, everybody always has an emergency, but it's only an emergency to them. And it takes a long time to do that. Like, I've been in business for 6 years and I've been doing this beforehand. So it takes a lot of training to understand that and to be at that level. And that's, why. And I also do this thing called a brain dump, where I take everything out on Sunday nights of what needs to be done that week. And, the first couple of times I did it, I planned way too much, and I started to get better, where now I have my whole day scheduled and I'm done at 4:00, and then there's nothing left on the list. And then tomorrow I have stuff to do, and because I know how long certain tasks take. And, unless, a client is calling me 5 times in a row, and it's a true emergency, most emergencies are not true emergencies.
I agree with that. Most emergencies are like, they think it's the end of the world, but it's not. But I mean, I don't think I've ever crossed off my to-do. In fact, I know I haven't. My to-do list definitely grows quicker than I can get through it. 100%. I've never crossed everything off my to-do list. And for example, like even today, my emergencies that people call me up with, I had 3 clients call the office over 5 times. So their sites went down, or someone had done something drastic, and then there's like a staff emergency. There's always stuff that goes on that I feel like I need to kind of deal with. And so the thought of, again, I think everyone's got to be different here, because the thought of only checking my emails between a couple of times a day would give me more anxiety, I think, because then when I get to the emails, like I'll go into a meeting for an hour and I'll come out and there's 75 emails on my phone that I need answering. That gives me more anxiety, because I'm like, okay, so if I only check that once every 6 hours, how many emails would I have a day that I need to answer? And that would freak me out more. So I don't know, like I feel like not everyone can do that, because that would definitely give me more anxiety. I'd rather just then sit down, answer those emails, and then know it's done, and then get on with it. But like, I don't think I could actually sit there and just say, okay, I'm only going to answer my emails between 2 different slots a day, and that's it. I couldn't do it. I feel like that's more stressful, the thought of it.
Yes and no. I mean, it's not something that gets switched overnight, but, there's processes to go through, like how many of those emails are actually important, how many of them are coupons and all this other stuff. So, there's different
I wish
ways.
They were junk. I mean, 75 answerable emails from clients or from people that I need responding to. They're not actual, newsletters or anything. That's in a different folder. But this is the stuff that I have to actually answer. This is why it would worry me. And also I've tried the whole, like, for example, when I take days off now, I try to be good. I put an out of office reply on. I will, just not check my emails for like the 4 days that I've taken off. And I'll come back and there's emails going, sorry, you didn't reply, so therefore we're giving this business to someone else. And that makes me really upset. I feel like I've missed out on that opportunity. And I'm like, had I replied to that, I would have won like a 20 grand business, but now I've just lost that. And now my business is like suffering. And that's how I'd feel. And I think that, again, maybe it's FOMO, maybe, I don't know, but it's that causes me more anxiety. So sometimes I just would rather check my email on holiday, make sure I'm not missing anything, and then actually have a better holiday. And everyone says that's really unhealthy, but I don't know. I feel like you
need a virtual assistant.
Oh, I've tried that. I mean, I've tried training people as assistants for months. No one can answer those emails. They only want to speak to me. It's really annoying. So I don't think it's very difficult when they're not generic, like kind of inquiries, and they're very specific. I've been looking for 8 years for someone who can answer very specific questions. And, you know, we've got someone now who we've hired to do admin work, and she's taken off a lot of stuff off my plate, which is great. And obviously, but she's, you know, she's still struggling to answer. She still doesn't know what to say. Every day she'll still ask me, is this the right thing to say? What do I do? Doesn't know. And you know, bless her, she's trying, and she's done, you know, she's come a long way, and she's definitely saved me lots of time. But there were some things that only certain people can answer in the business, and that's why people want to speak to me. And I don't know, I just feel like, I think that everyone's a little bit different, and I think that my issue is that a lot of people say there's one size fits all, right, with these sort of like de-stressing approaches, and I think that everyone's a very different person. And as we discovered, I'm backwards to a lot of people. Like, you know, I'll eat my breakfast at night, and I'll you know, I'll be doing stuff at 2 a.m. instead of, like, you know, getting up at 5 a.m. So I just think that, you know, I've been trying to do stuff to accommodate me, but how would you like deal with someone who is as weird as me, like who doesn't conform to normality? And like, where do I start? Well, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure there's a lot of other crazy business owners out there who, you know, do feel the anxiety of not replying to emails. And actually it's you know, I feel like maybe you're right. Maybe you should do the James Clear method of doing small bits and checking them less, and you know, get there slowly. And maybe eventually I'll be able to check it twice a day, or maybe even once a day. Maybe I need to just give it time. But you know, what other options do I have to be able to handle this kind of anxiety that I have by not doing my work? It's the opposite.
So a lot of that is more so how you set up your business and the parameters you set with your clients, but not setting up like having too much on your to-do list is not planning properly. So, and planning takes time to learn. So, you know, we do like I have a whole 6-week program on planning and how to plan properly, so you're not over planning. But, you know, a lot of the things that you're talking about specifically are, you know, if you really, you know, took the time, which you're then, you know, yes, essentially you're wasting more time to look at those emails. Like, are they all really important, or can you lay out better client relationship guidelines of what needs to be emailed? Is there a better system for that? So some of those things are different than what I do. That's just like general business coaching advice. But you know, having more stuff on your to-do list than you can get done is because there's other distractions in your life that, you know, we just need to prioritize and figure all of that out. And it's not, you know, it's not a quick flip of the switch as most people would like it to be. So, you know, we would have to take a real deep dive into your routine and what you're planning, and can some of those things be handed off to somebody else, especially, you know, if you're an entrepreneur and all of that. So that it's not an easy answer. Let's put it that way.
That is exactly the main thing, is the delegation thing. And you mentioned about the virtual assistant, because I, you know, for example, I hate the book 4-Hour Work Week, which I vouched to reread again because I'm going to give him some credit, because I actually do like a lot of Tim Ferriss's work. But like, you know, the 4-Hour Work Week essentially summed up in one sentence is get a virtual assistant and it will give you lots of time. And I've tried this for years and years and years, and obviously every time I feel swamped, I sit down and write down all the tasks that I could potentially delegate. And I've done that, and then try to create a job description and try to hire someone to do those tasks. And that's exactly what I feel like would be the sensible thing to do, because then you delegate it to someone, and you've got more time for yourself, and you've got more time to kind of, you've got less, you know, fewer things on your to-do list. But the problem is, it's very difficult to find people to do those tasks. And, you know, whilst I've learned to delegate a lot of things can't be delegated. And I've spoken to other people who do what I do as well, and they kind of are doing more than I am, which is kind of crazy actually, because they feel like that no one else can do it. And maybe the problem is out there is that, you know, people don't trust other people to do their work, or, you know, and then at the moment it's even harder, because I think that the whole great resignation thing. There's a lack of talent out there. Everyone's struggling to find the right sort of talent and to help them. But I know that I would love to have more time. I would love to have people doing this work. But every time I've tried to delegate it to someone, it's not been done properly. And then I end up wasting time because I have to explain to them how it's done again. Then I have to do it myself anyway. And actually I end up, this is actually the problem. My delegation has actually cost me way more time in the past because people can't do the work. And I think that's the problem. I've tried all these things and it's backfired. That's why a lot of entrepreneurs end up just doing it themselves, because they feel like, oh, if I do it myself, I know it will be done properly and I won't be disappointed, and actually it's quicker. So I think there's that weird kind of, problem that people feel like they're in, where they feel like they can't get out of it. It's like a catch-22 situation. If we did have someone to help us, I think people would snap that up, no? But where do these people exist? We've got to find all these people. I wish they were there, and I guess the people who are talented who can do it are just not affordable either. So it's all like these other extra problems, and I guess that's what causes people stress.
Yeah, and that's a whole different, I guess, conversation. But yeah, there's, and there's a lot to it. It depends on what you do, like what you're an entrepreneur doing and all of that stuff. So, but
tell me about one of your greatest success stories, though. I want to hear that. I want to have a nice, positive, inspirational story to take away, because I feel like I'm like bringing all my anxiety to this now, and I've been like, oh, there's too much to do, and I'm like, right, no, this is exactly what you're going to get out of me. So I want to have a nice, inspiring story of one of your successful clients.
So one of my clients is a first grade teacher, and she was walked all over by her family, and she was full of stress and never felt like she had time for herself. She was coming to the gym, wasn't getting results. So, we sat down and went over her routine and realized, there was no transition from teacher to mom and wife. And she was always running around because she had no plan, but still felt like she never got anything done. So, because she was always saying yes to other people. She was on all of these organizations that didn't fulfill her. And, we really got down to what she wanted, and what she wanted was more time at home. So we just created habits to get her to have more time at home. And she gave up things that didn't fulfill her. And since then, she's lost 30 pounds. She's able to say no to the family that is toxic in her life, and they have actually realized what they were doing and they have changed. So she actually bettered her relationship with her family because she was able to get rid of stress and stand up for herself. So, just by simply looking at things that were bad habits for her because they were causing her stress. And even though I love volunteering, which is great, but it wasn't fulfilling to her.
That's beautiful, because you've just changed someone's life so much for the better. That's incredible. And also just like fixed family relationships as well. I think that's wonderful. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, and the fact that you were able to help the family realize that they were being toxic towards her. I love that. I'm so glad I asked you for a nice story. That's made me feel so much better. But I would like to allow my listeners to be able to be inspired by you as well. So where can people get in touch with you if they want to be able to get rid of their bad habits and form some good ones? What's the best way to get in touch?
So you can go to my website. It's jmclifestyle.com. And on there is all of my connects to social.
Cool. So which social channels should we find you on? Which ones are the best places?
Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram. Okay, so I'll put it on the show notes where we can find you and where people can hit you up to perhaps, get some better advice and to be not as stressed as me as an entrepreneur, that's for sure, and juggling too many things. I know that's what my problem is, really, is that I need to get better at saying no, for sure, because I end up just saying yes to everything, and then I have a million things to do, and those things come with a to-do list.
Powerful word.
It is, but it's so small, but yet so difficult to say. It's really hard. So I think that's got to be one of my things. If anything, I need to learn how to say no more. I think that's definitely something I think I need to try. But Thank you so much, Julie, for
You're welcome.
coming
Thank
in
you.
today. You've been amazing, and thank you for the inspiring story. And thanks everyone for listening. And if you like the show, please do remember to hit subscribe and leave a review. It will really, really help us, and I will massively appreciate it. But until next week, I will see you all, and thank you for tuning in to No Bullshit Talks.